Remember what I said, public policy is a metaphorical debate disguised as a factual discussion. And the next time you hear public policy being debated, listen for the metaphor. Hello, my name is Bob Terry, and it's good to be with you. I've spent a lot of time thinking about leadership as well as being a practitioner in leadership. And one of the things that I've discovered is how many people talk past each other. So one person may have one kind of a vision of life, and another person has a different vision of life, and you wonder whether they're in the same world. Well, the thing I've learned is they're not. They really have different pictures of how the world works. And what I've come to do is think of this as metaphorical perspectives that shape how one thinks about life, thinks about oneself, and thinks about leadership itself. So what I'm going to talk with you now about are metaphors. Now, we've got to remember what a metaphor is. A metaphor is comparing one thing with another thing, using as the connector the word is. So by taking a word like marriage and tying it to warfare or tying it to poetry, you get new insight about the nature of marriage. So what I'm going to do, and what I've found out, is that I think there are 6 basic metaphors guiding both public policy debate today and organizational change. So I'm quickly going to mention the 6 metaphors and then highlight 2 or 3 of them to illustrate the power that these metaphors have. And part of the leadership skill today is knowing your own metaphor, or which 1 or 2 you're operating in, knowing the metaphors of the people with whom you're talking, and being able to talk across metaphors. The thing I've learned is that facts do not solve problems unless you're in the same metaphor. But if we're talking across frameworks, across mindsets, across these ways of looking at life, my facts are important to me, but they're insignificant to you. Here they are. Life is a gift. Life is a market. Life is a body. Life is a conflict between ups versus downs. Life is a journey. And then the last one, life is art. Now these may sound a little odd to you because a lot of people are not used to metaphorical thinking. But the thing I've learned is that when I get into an organization and I listen to people talk about where the organization's going, what it's about, what's important, how to deal with change, what change is important, actually they're coming from their metaphor. They're telling you how they think life is and how it ought to be at the same time. That's what a metaphor does. It's a part of our vision about the way life both is. This is the way it's supposed to be. And it's not that way now, so let's get it the way it's supposed to be. How is it supposed to be? It's supposed to be operating out of our metaphor. If life's a gift, then you don't know how it comes wrapped. Some of the gifts are unwanted. Terrible things can come in life, and yet we've got to deal with them. I've had people say to me that after they've gotten cancer, cancer was the best gift I've ever had. And you wonder, how in the world could they say that? Because what they're saying is, I've used cancer as a gift of life. It was first an enemy, I've turned it into a gift, and it has helped me sort out my priorities, who I am, what's important. It's become a gift. This is really a tough metaphor, and it has a lot of spiritual foundations for a lot of people. One of the most dominant metaphors today is life is a market. Supply and demand, competition, choice, freedom, option. And you just listen to all the kind of policy decisions that get made from the idea that life is a market. What do you think about labor unions? Good idea, bad idea from a market point of view? Well, it's a bad idea. You don't want concentration. You want people to have a lot of choices. You don't want to be restricted by one group setting the direction. How about big government versus small government? If you're in a market view, you often like a small government. You want people to be freer and government to be less. How about strong national defense? Oh, that's a very good idea. We don't want other people interfering with our market choices. You see what's happening here? The metaphor is guiding the choices. What do you think about minimum wage? Oh, not a very good idea. That sets an arbitrary floor in the marketplace, so we don't want minimum wage. What's the problem with crime? Too many criminals. We should lock them up. What do you think about affirmative action? Oh, not a very good idea. We don't want a government setting goals and timetables. We want to have equal opportunity so everybody can come into the marketplace in a sort of color-neutral, gender-neutral approach based on skill and ability. Remember what I said, public policy is a metaphorical debate disguised as a factual discussion. And the next time you hear public policy being debated, listen for the metaphor. Another big one today is life is a body. Life is a system. Life is all interdependent parts. The lung has to work with the hearts, and they have to be in a very open, flexible, adaptive system. Big government is okay as long as everybody in the body is being helped. So we don't have a problem with big government. Minimum wage is sometimes necessary as the minimum floor so that people can be healthy and build a sustainable future for themselves. Should people be able to do anything they want? Nope, not if it interferes with the sustainability of the body. A lot of organizations in the quality movement are operating out of the body metaphor. Deming, I think, operated out of the body metaphor, saying that the most serious problems in organizations are systems problems, not personnel problems. And if we get better systems, the goodness of people will come out, and the system is what needs fixing. This is also the metaphor of the ecological movement. When you begin to think about sustainable growth, sustainable agriculture, low fertilizer input, natural processes. This is a big metaphor. You see it on television all the time on the nature programs, and it usually starts like this. Life is an ecosystem, and if we wipe out the snail darters, the whales are next to go, and you say, my Lord, that's a connection. That is one heck of a connection. And they say, see, you get it. And what are the market folks thinking? I wonder what a snail darter is really worth. Maybe we can raise some snail darters and sell them. And the people in the body metaphor say to the people in the market metaphor, you know, they just don't get it. They don't understand how the system works. A metaphor that I think is powerful in life, but one that is underutilized in terms of our understanding of life is a conflict between ups and downs. And maybe the best way to tell you this is tell you a little parable about ups versus downs. So it goes like this. What makes an up and a down is that an up can do more to a down than a down can to an up. That's what keeps an up and a down down. The ups tend to talk to each other and study the downs and ask the downs for reports about what's up, or what's coming down for that matter. After a while, the downs weary of explaining and justifying their downness to the ups, and they say, if I have to talk to one more up about what it's like to be a down, I'm going to throw up. So the downs form a process which they call networking and support groups. And this, of course, makes some ups nervous, because ups know that 3 ups standing together is a board meeting, 3 downs standing together is pre-revolutionary activity. So what the ups do to respond to this rising tide of downness is get a lot of downs and have them appear in front of the ups to explain their downness. And what a really nervous up does is find a good down and dress them up and send them down to see what the downs are up to. We call this the HR director, the human resources person, who often doesn't know whether he or she is up or down and usually burns up because they're not sure whose side they're on. Now, there's good news and there's bad news in this parable. The good news is all of us as human beings are both ups and downs, and we can be up in 1 minute and down in the next. So we know in our own soul both what it is to be up and down. That's the good news. The bad news is that when we are an up, we're often stupid. It's what I call dumb upness. And why is that? Because downs know more about ups than ups know about downs. The ups are often the last one to figure out what's up. The downs know first, the ups know second. And so the real secret in leadership from an up-down point of view is to know your own up areas, and that's where we need to work. We have to know about downness, but we don't necessarily know about upness. A very popular growing metaphor today is life is a journey. Shared direction, many ways to get there. You'll often hear people in organizations talk about, we know what our vision is, but how you get there, we're going to loosen up the structure, we're going to tighten up the mission. There are many kinds of identities that can come together in a multicultural organization and move toward shared purpose. So you'll hear a lot of talk about shared purpose, which is the direction of the journey, and then many participants in the journey moving along that road. And the final metaphor that I think is on the horizon, but we're beginning to see it a lot these days, is life is art. And I particularly like the idea of life as a subset of art, improvisational jazz. If you want to know a lot about how life works, we're going to have to improvise. There are no roadmaps. There are no paths for the journey. We're going to have to invent them or create them. So values of innovation and creativity and taking responsibility for what you do is emerging, I think, in many organizations as a deeper understanding of who we are, how we operate, and what leadership is. Now what I've done is I've given you sort of a thumbnail sketch of each of these metaphors. You can take almost any issue and run it through each of these filters, and you'll see a very different aspect of that metaphor. So which one's best? I think we need all 6. We need multiple framing. One of the skills of leadership today is looking at things from many angles all at the same time. Metaphors help us understand not only what metaphor we operate out of, what metaphor people with whom we're dialoguing operate out of, what metaphor our organization is struggling to operate out of. And if we can understand those dynamics and see that we need all 6 in an organization, then we'll have a very rich understanding of how life works, the dimensions of life, and what it takes to make life viable for all of us. Thank you very much.